speaking of jobs, what do you do if you're a teacher who's a member of a powerful union in a place like Chicago, where unions call the shots, and you won't go into a classroom, despite all of the evidence and the science saying that it's safe to be in class? Well, according to Mayor Lightfoot, she's got her hands full because the teachers there don't want to go into work. The mayor, Lori Lightfoot, explained she's practically begging them to please, please come back and teach our kids.
Do you expect to be back at the table later today?
If they absolutely tell us that they're ready, we will stay up all night to get a deal done. I think I said that in my opening remarks, okay? Over and over again. We want a deal done. We are ready. We are calling. We are practically begging CTU to come to the table so we can get a deal done.
That's a pretty powerful stance to say you're a teachers union and you're not going to teach, but you better pay us. We think it's unsafe, so we want to stay home. You know, I keep thinking about this across the board. How many people are maximizing COVID so they can avoid going to work? Companies are faced with a real challenging circumstance, and that is you can't exactly ignore the concerns that people have of getting the virus, but how do you make them work if they're going to claim they're afraid of the virus? And if they're afraid of getting the virus, what happens to them? Bill Bennett, former Reagan administration, Bush administration official, morning host for years here at Salem, got his own podcast now. Very wise man, popping up a lot on Fox News these days, and it's always great to see and hear him. Dr. Bill Bennett said that there's a word for what the teachers unions are doing. It's called extortion. Here was Bill with Jesse Waters over the weekend on Fox News.
So my question to you is, where's the money going, Bill?
Graft, extortion, that's going to the teachers, and teachers are not working. A couple of aspects of this that aren't getting a lot of attention. Nobody has spoken more eloquently than that parent from Virginia that began the segment. But books are going to be written, papers will be published about the cost to our children. They're not susceptible to COVID. We know that from the science. But boy, are they susceptible to academic, social, and emotional damage, and they are suffering it.
Academic, social, emotional damage inflicted by the teachers upon millions of students. There is a process of discarding these kids that's happening all over the country. It's not just Chicago, even in New York, where there's a big snowstorm today. They're expecting maybe 2 feet of snow. And of course, state of emergency, everything's shut down, closed, we can't do anything, it's snowing, because it's winter in New York and there's snow. But instead of just living with snow, now we are in a state of panic, emergency, and despair over snow. And it's absolutely Donald Trump's fault. It is a climate change issue. When it snows, it's those damned Republicans. It's climate change, don't you know? We're killing the planet. We got to declare a state of emergency because they're getting snow in the Northeast and in the Midwest today. It's climate change. Panic. Run for the exits. Get rid of the Republicans because they're doing this. This is a Trump snowstorm. It's his fault. But it's everywhere. It's not just Chicago. Look at what they've done in New York today. And I can't help but think, I hearken back to the days of Denise and I with the kids living in Albany, New York, where there was a lot of snow all the time. They don't exactly declare states of emergencies every time it snows in Albany. I remember interviewing for a job in Albany. I was driving around with the program director, and I was coming from South Carolina. And we're driving around Albany, and he said, last winter we had a pretty mild winter. We only got 77 inches of snow. And I'm looking at it, and he's like normal. I thought 77 inches of snow. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of snow in Albany. And I remember snow days. And it was like God's holiday. Kids got a day off. You know what they do in New York now that there's COVID? The kids that are going into school in New York, and there are children going into school, there is in-person learning in New York. So when there's a big snowstorm, what do the Grinches want to do around here? You got to do in-person or remote learning, rather. You got to get out your laptop, and you're going to go to school, little boy. You're going to go to school, little girl. You're going to have Amy, Josh, Mary. You got to go to school on remote, do remote. They don't even give them a snow day, for crying out loud. I mean, how many days, with all the kids that have had to go to school by sitting in their parents' kitchen on a computer, how could there be any shortage of available snow days? These kids have been going to school, not the right way, but the wrong way.